My name is Mr.GentleHeart, and today I got an episode. What episode is this? Third episode of Road to Pro series that I've been doing in my channel for the past few months. I think I haven't been developing that much because, of course, I'm a lazy bum. But regardless of that, today I wanted to actually give you guys a little bit of a topic that it's been running around my mind for a while, and that is the topic of badass characters. I devised a plan to actually explain how badass characters are being portrayed wrong in different series, different movies, and stuff like that. For the first thing that we need to answer, of course, is what is a badass character? And I've been doing my research. I've been watching a lot of anime. I've been watching a lot of anime, and also I've been reading a lot of manga, and there is some things that I've seen and some things that I want to address when it comes to badass characters. The first thing is answering the question of what is a badass character. This is a big topic to talk about, but there's a lot of things that we can talk about it that will make the process of explaining it easier. Now, most of the movies that I've seen and most of the new movies that are trying to portray characters as being badass get the whole paper of what a badass character is and how they work. The thing is, they're trying to sell you this perfect, godly, powerful character that can do everything by themselves and they don't need nobody's help. And that is the wrong way to make a badass character. Not only does it make your story pointless, not only does it make all the other characters around them pointless, it also makes a bad connection with the audience. And if you're not making a good connection with the audience, why the hell are you writing a story in the first place? And this is what modern movies get wrong in the essence of trying to make a badass character, or even a good story, might I add, because they make horrendous stories. Birds of Prey, I'm watching you. So anyway, let's talk about stories that actually do get the badass character and paper right. For example, let's talk about Berserk. Berserk is a manga written by the god himself, the god of Heyoooooo himself, Mr. Miura. He is a badass in his own right for keeping us blue balls so many years. Anyway, the character that he portrays in the story, his name is Guts. His name is Guts. So let's just call him Guts because that's how I knew him. Now, when I was a kid, yes, I was a kid when I actually watched this movie, and I was horrified, and it's one of the reasons why I'm so crazy today in my head. I watched it in 1997, I think it is. I don't remember the exact date. I should look it up, but of course I'm a lazy bum that doesn't Google anything before actually doing anything whatsoever. But the character that we get to see in his portrayal is it's a character called Guts. Now, if you watch the start of the manga, not the anime, if you read the start of the manga, if that's your introduction, then you will find yourself with a character that is kind of bad. Guts, it's not morally right. Guts is kind of hard to establish a connection with him at the start. He does questionable things, and he says questionable things that you will be like, the hell is wrong with this guy? You're right, there's no connection with him, and you must be thinking, okay, well, isn't that the whole embodiment of what a bad written badass character is? Well, yes, and you're wrong, because you can turn it around, and that's exactly what Miura did in his story. He turned the whole thing around. Well, at the start, you must feel like I have no connection with this character because, well, he's doing things that I wouldn't do personally. Who the hell is gonna a monster, right? Who the hell is gonna a demon just to kill it? You know, nobody's gonna do that. But of course, this is something that it wasn't written in the paper of Berserk, and it's not actually canon. But you can't connect with somebody who does things like that. And but later on, Miura decided to create a backstory of Guts, which is explaining how he got to that position where it is. And this is perfect. You see this done in different movies, such as, for example, let's talk about what is that movie from Riavo Keeves? What's that movie again? Not the Matrix, not the Matrix. The other one, the one where the puppy dies. Uh, I forget the name of the movie where the puppy dies. John Wick. John Wick. There we go. There we go. I remember because of the puppy. It broke my heart. But in that movie at the start. You don't get to see what's the start of what's happening in the story. You get to see a character bleeding out in the floor in what place, watching a movie. Not a movie, a replay of something. You don't get no connection with him at all. Not until the puppy is introduced, of course. But then later you see the backstory of him explaining how he got to that point in the story. And that's where you draw a connection. The same thing happens in Berserk, where Gatsu gets to... you get a connection with Gatsu because he does have a backstory explained with him. You get to see how naive he was at the start, how flawed he was at the start, and how he had to struggle to become who he is at some point, even joining forces with immoral sides. You know, like pretty much have to. And this is where the second thing comes into play, which is environments and situations. They mold your characters because environments, they affect how your characters react, they affect how your characters would act in certain situations, and how they will interact with others. And interactions are really important in a story. If, for example, the entire story about Gats was in Berserk was all about Gats instead of all the characters like Casca. Casca was an amazing, well-written, badass character as well in her own right. Although she served for a lot of plots in the story, which is really amazing. Other characters such as Sepikuro, I think it's called, the witch kid. Nobody gives a shit. FBI called him. But those characters, they all form a way to actually represent the environment around them. The world of Berserk is a real difficult one, and you get to see how it affects Guts. This is really important because it makes the explanation of how a badass character got to be a badass character. You get to see the movie of Charlie Angels, and you're like, how did they got to be who they are? Oh, they train. Great. Then what? You see, there's no explanation of how and where they got there. You know, the situations around them are kind of plain. They're kind of bleak because, well, they are perfect characters. It's bleak because they're perfect characters. You don't believe. Try to think about it this way. Why is there a need for any other characters in the story? Why? She can do everything. They can do everything. We don't need any more. They don't need anything else. We don't need an intel guy. They can do intel themselves. We don't need a good driver. They can drive very well. You don't need a fighter. They can fight very well. It's the same formula that the new episodes of Star Wars uses to basically destroy all the sense of what's believable in a story. It just destroys it, and it destroys the connection between the audience and the story. And if you can't draw a connection between the audience and the story, then why are you even writing a story in the first place? For yourself? Keep it to yourself then. But the whole purpose of creating a story is for the audience to see it, and you have to draw a connection, because that is what separates hardcore fans to just people who watch your stories just to watch it and get it over with. And this is why most of the movies where they're trying to portray female characters as being badass fail, because they try to make it too perfect, and it's not something that you can't believe at all. You can't connect yourself, and this is also why many movies such as, for example, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is such an amazing movie. Oh my God, I can't address enough. The female character was well written. It was well written. It's not about how perfect. It wasn't all about how perfect she was and how amazing she was. Of course, it had a few elements of that, because you of course have to show off your characters. But it wasn't all about that. It was about the story and how and the struggles, internal struggles that you have to go through, and how Wonder Woman had to go through those internal struggles. And she can't do everything about herself. She needed help in the story, and that's what makes a badass character. You have to understand that struggles are the most important thing in a story, and if you can get that right, well, I'm sorry for you, your story sucks ass. Anyway, talking about the situations and environments, how do they affect them? Let's give you a scenario, a hypothetical scenario. Let's talk about a character who is stuck in a zombie, a survival scenario, right? Now he has to survive. You don't know how to survive. You have no idea how to survive. You are living in a comfortable situation in your life where you don't need to survive at all, where everything is around you and everything is comfortable around you, right? How the hell do you get to the point of being a badass who can survive? That is by being exposed to situations where it requires you to survive. Now, here's the reality of things, and this is what makes the story believable. You won't get it right in the first try. You won't get it right. You might fail. You might lose somebody you care about. You might get injured or stuff like that. You don't get to know what happens. Contrary to how Animu tries to make you believe that as soon as they learn one technique, they have even a name for it and they can use it right away. No, that's not how it works. It's not believable. Okay, it's not believable. Now you must be thinking to yourself, okay, I don't want to create a story that is realistic, right? I want to create fiction. Yes, you can create fiction, but if your story is not believable, people can't connect with it. You have to make somebody in the audience go, damn, I wish I was that guy. Or I wish I was that woman. I wish I was as badass as that woman. And that's what makes a really hardcore fan in your story. So please try to do that as much as possible. Now, moving on to the topic that I was talking about, because I tend to babble a lot, especially when I'm talking to myself, because I love talking to myself. I mean, I'm really talking to myself at this point, just looking at the screen. Probably some people just already click off here as soon as they heard my voice, so who cares, right? So step 3 of the character development, of the characters, badass characters, how they get to be and how to do. The third step that I like to talk about is the character development. Holy shit, I had so much trouble talking about that. I just spit it all on my keyboard because I'm awesome. So, it is important to establish how a character develops his badassery. How does he develop that? Like I said, situations or environments are really big portions of it, but you have to basically explain how they get to be as badass. Let's talk about a female badass this time. What about Black Lagoon, the anime Black Lagoon? It's really good anime. If you haven't watched that anime, you should go ahead and watch it, or because it gives a good badass character. I might say. The thing is, Revi, one of the main characters of the story, it's her own. She has her own badass, in her story, and she's really good at what she does, which is killing people. She's a mercenary, so I might as well just freaking, give her ability to kill people, and she's really good at it. So you have to give him credit on that. But she's not really good at anything else. Okay, she's not really good at forming relationships. She's not really good at intel gathering, logistic planning. She's not about that. She's full on just a hardcore fighter. Okay, that's what she is, and that's why she is so badass. Because by doing so, she makes other characters who are good at something else relevant to the story, and now the story is completely irrelevant, right? That's how it works. But the thing is, Revi wasn't always this girl that could kill people without a single thought, You don't get to be like that fast. You have to have an internal struggle. And this is where the character development comes. Let's talk about, you have to explain how they got to there, okay? You can't just put a perfect freaking badass character in there with no flaws and say, oh, he got to being that badass just because. You see how stupid that is? Okay, so how to explain it? Here's the thing: characters such as Revi, and actually, I wanna give another explanation. Let's give a hypothetical. This one. Let's say that there's a shy character, right? Let's say there's a shy character in a story. Now, typically, shy characters are well known for being scared of things, having social problems, uh, being antisocial and being difficult to deal with because they're really shy, you know. But that's not all, you know. They have, when faced with situations, they would rather just stay back and not be confronted at all. That's what shy characters are. Now, how can you turn that shy character into a badass? Through character development. It's really important. Create a situation where he's exposed to dangers and confrontation. Okay, because this is really important. You want to get out of your comfort zone. You want to get out from being shy. You want to get out from being antisocial. Expose yourself to expose yourself to that, you know, to what's making you uncomfortable, and you will see that you yourself as a human being will change. Okay, you will change accordingly to the environment that you are putting yourself out there for. So it is important that, and this is how character development works in a story. Let's say that shy character had to put himself into a situation where he gets to confront people, and he's not comfortable with that, and at the start he may not get it right, but it is throughout the process of the struggle of having to put himself into that situation that he develops such amazing badass and a big dick energy in his regard. And you get to see how now the audience is like, wow, this guy was a weakling. He was a shy person. He couldn't do anything without others. Now he can stand up for himself. He still needs the help of other people for certain things, but now he can stand up for himself. And that is really, that's what character development is. And you need to show it in a story for in order to explain any character how they got to be to any point. So the character developments work in any characters, and you see this a lot in manga and anime. But unfortunately, Western movies get this wrong. What I have seen, most people in the Japanese world actually get it right. But Western movies kind of get it wrong, except for certain ones, such as John Wick. John Wick is actually a really good movie about a badass character. You should watch that movie if you haven't. Anyway, I think I've been rambling for a lot. I try to explain how to make a badass character in a few minutes or so, but of course you can't always get what you want. And for those people who stuck to the end of watching me ramble a lot, thank you. And see you guys in the next episode. I really don't have anything else to talk. Bye. You're my love.